Aaron Rift, this is the D job, Daniel Jobber here, and I'm calling you out. Actually, just Daniel Jobber here. I was going to give you a rant video, dramatic and everything, all jobberish and everything, try to show you why Jinder Mahal is the greatest thing since sliced bread and why you're a crazy man for not seeing it in him. But I watched your video and it's pretty good. It makes a lot of sense. But I still got to give Jinder Mahal's rebuttal because, I don't know, I think there's lots of reasons and sense in what they're doing. And I'm going to tell you why. I mean, first off, what I was going to say in the rant is, I mean, look at the guy. He's made himself into a perfect specimen of a monster. I mean, the guy looks great. He's, at his age, to make himself such an amazing specimen. He looks like a champion. He looks like a beast. He looks like he belongs, you know, with a title around his waist. He did what he had to do. He put a lot of work in and made himself look amazing. I mean, you got to admit that. I think you can really question the way he looks, man. He's ready. As ready as he's ever been in his entire career to be a champion. I mean, what he was back in his first run of WWE and everything, I mean, you can't even really compare to what it is now. I mean, he's amazing right now. But that's besides the point. I mean, the fact is he's Indian. I mean, his Indian blood is going to be huge in making the WWE tons of money in India. I mean, you said that yourself. You know he's got a huge opportunity to make WWE a lot of money. I mean, he's a perfect Indian champion. And people have said he's the first Indian champion. I mean, really, wow. I mean, you'd rather have the great Khali over Jinder Mahal as the WWE champion representing India? And I mean, it's time they have a champion. It's time they have someone they can believe in. Somebody that represents the best, one of the best physical specimens of their nationality, whatever you want to put. I mean, it's time. He's perfect around at the perfect time. I mean, how can you deny that? You might now, you Chris, your point is so valid though. Is creatively it was not. It was awkward. That's what it was. So you have to kind of look beyond that a little bit. I mean, I'll say this: Vince dropped the ball right off the bat. I mean, he should have saw this in Jinder Mahal right from the beginning when they brought him back. I mean, you know, I was advocating for this. I mean, in some of my early when I was trying to do my blog called "Jobbing Out Undercard Report," I was one of the big protesters of how they were treating Jinder Mahal and making him lose and not really seeing the potential that I saw in him. I mean, I was one of the ones that thought he should be pushed right from the beginning as a better, at least better than they made him. I mean, he didn't win a match for how long? So, I mean, really, what could they have done better? But they didn't. Vince dropped the ball. Maybe he had to prove himself to Vince. Vince took way too long to be convinced that he was the right guy. I mean, that's on Vince. You know, he should have seen it sooner, but he didn't. Of course, maybe they should have seen it a few months ago even, and they could have done a video, you know. Because really, if you think about it, Jinder Mahal is an underdog story. I mean, he came from nowhere, being a nobody, losing, and all of a sudden he got, you know, his push, and I mean, it's part of it. He's made himself look amazing, and then now, of course, he's champion. It's almost like a modern day Rocky story, like a modern day Indian Rocky story. I mean, if they would have been smart 3 months ago, they would have made a video, made a decision then, and made a video of his rise to prominence, and you know how he pushed himself and worked so hard to get where he was, and made it into a you know, one of those stories that they I can't remember the number, whatever it is that they do with wrestlers when they want to show, you know, showcase how they got where they are. They would have done that ages ago. I mean, it just made sense, but they didn't. Again, they dropped the ball. They didn't decide for a month ago they were going to even give it a chance. A month and a week ago maybe, and then they only decided apparently the morning of the pay-per-view that he was actually going to win the championship. So yeah, you got to excuse my friend Vince. He's a little slow. But really, the timing is right. The India tour is in September. There's only so much time they had to really make the decision anyways and make it happen. And what could they have done differently? They could have had him lose this time and had him win it at Money in the Bank. Maybe he could have had a rematch at Money in the Bank and won it then. Would really a month of a few victories. I mean, how many matches could he have won and proved himself in that month? Again, not many. They could have had him win Money in the Bank and be the huge underdog winner of Money in the Bank. They could have, they could almost have waited till SummerSlam, but how could they? SummerSlam's at the end of August and the tour's in September. They only had a small window to make him WWE champion. I mean, they had a tough decision to make, and I mean, maybe the light came on in Vince's head a little late, but when the light went on, he flicked the switch. Kind of reverse, flicking the switch before the light goes on, or after the light goes on. But I mean, he did. They could have totally missed the opportunity. I mean, are they going to say, "Oh, we should have done this months ago"? Darn, now we're going to miss this opportunity to make this great Indian champion and make all this money on the Indian tour and inspire the Indian people to believe in this man? Or they could have done what they did and accept a little bit of awkwardness, make us dig deep into our belief system a little bit and suspend our belief that a guy who loses a bunch of matches in a row can all of a sudden become great. And in the process, he kind of inspired us. He inspired me. I mean, I wanted to see him win. I know a lot of other people did too. I mean, I don't know if it was half the crowd, but a good portion of the crowd was cheering for Jinder Mahal in that match. So, I mean, people wanted to see him win. He inspired people with his late push, even if it was so sudden and it just came on suddenly and no one expected it. Also, of course, we just had the superstar shakeup. I mean, it's a whole new ball game now in these two brands. This was the timing to have a new star emerge and become a champion, because they just totally shook up the roster. So what was happening in Raw and SmackDown beforehand, if we just go with that and just move guys to different rosters and have them be exactly the same people in exactly the same role, how much of a shakeup is that? At least they used the superstar shakeup to push a guy to be better than he was before, showing that the SmackDown is the land of opportunity. Going to another brand, sometimes it makes all the difference in the world for a superstar. Another good reason why this wasn't such a bad thing. We just had the superstar shakeup. The timing was perfect. And I mean, like I said, you can't blame Vince to strike while the iron is hot, because the iron was hot. The tour is in September. I mean, how long is he going to be champion for? Well, I'm not going to take the title off him before the tour in September. So, yeah, he'll be champion, you expect, through SummerSlam. And then probably SummerSlam, he'll really have a chance to prove himself. Who knows? And probably through to the early WrestleMania season, because that tour in India is a huge part of what they're aiming with this. So, I mean, it's going to be a pretty good run for him. I mean, there's no reason why they take the title off him sooner and then send him to India to try to get it back, to chase it back. I mean, I guess they could do that, but I wouldn't see it happening that way. I mean, yeah, I know your point is that anybody can be champion, but I mean, should anybody else be champion? I mean, should Heath Slater? I mean, yeah, he inspired people. He he came on as an underdog, and they even gave him the tag team championship with Rhino. I mean, they do give championships to guys who come on and inspire people. So, I mean, it's not like it's totally out of the blue. Yes, it's the WWE Championship. It's huge prestige and that. And, yeah, the tag team title isn't so much. But, I mean, it's not the first time they've had an underdog come on and get good all of a sudden, get hot, and win a title. So, I mean, and finally, I mean, what would you rather see? Would you rather see Aiden English become your WWE champion? I mean, is that what you'd rather see? I mean, I'm enjoying Aiden English's new change as much as anybody, but I don't think that makes him a champion. But Jinder Mahal, he's inspirational. He looks great. He's put the work in. He's become amazing. He represents an untapped market. He's a champion we've never seen before. I mean, how long was it before we finally saw a great black champion, in Ron Simmons? We celebrated that to no end. I mean, yeah, they had a chance. They made the decision early, and they built him up. And they didn't have this chance with Jinder Mahal. But at least they didn't miss the opportunity. At least they didn't miss an opportunity to do something great, make some money, and I really think he's going to make WWE a ton of money in India. I think when all is said and done, he's going to go down as a great champion in WWE history, at least in Vince's mind, because they invested in the right person at the right time, giving it to the people that really deserve it. They really deserve a champion of their own to get behind. Because really, besides the great Khali, what else has it ever been for the people of India? So I don't know. I'm an advocate for it. I'm not saying that your opinion is wrong in any way, shape, or form. I'm not saying that you had a little too many sips of the Jinder Mahal. I was just saying, that if you look at it a different way, we got ourselves a modern day Rocky, Indian Rocky. I mean, heck, he's got J&J Security by his side. The Singh boy. He's almost like an Indian Seth Rollins in a sense, except that Seth Rollins was won a lot of matches, and Jinder Mahal hadn't had that chance yet. But really, it's not much different. I mean, Seth. I was not a huge advocate for Seth Rollins' title run either. I wanted to see him lose much as anybody after, maybe more than anybody after he stole the title at WrestleMania. And with his J&J Security buddies, he kept winning and keeping the title. And I mean, I wasn't an advocate for any of that. So really, I mean, as I don't blame you for not being an advocate for what they're going to do with Jinder Mahal and the Singh boys, but I don't know. I see potential and I see a reason to do it. And like I said, Vince is striking while the iron is hot in a situation that really deserved attention. And like I said, the only shame is that Vince didn't pick up on this, when a year ago or 7-8 months ago when Jinder Mahal came back and start the process right from the beginning. It's a shame. Like I said, you have to excuse my friend here, Vince here. He's a little slow, but he did make the decision before it was too late. And we just have to suspend our belief a little bit, and hopefully the payoff will be far more worth it than the pain of accepting, this champion that just came on all of a sudden that maybe some people are going to say didn't deserve it. But I mean, like I said, he put the work in. He looks great. What more can you ask in a champion? I mean, a few more wins would have been nice. A few more wins before he got his push. Maybe even having a quick run at the Intercontinental Championship. But how much time does that actually take to do that? And they didn't have that time, so they made a quick decision. And I hope they don't do it very often. I mean, this is a one shot in years kind of deal. They can't do this very often, but it's inspirational for once in a while for an underdog to come from nowhere and go from rags to riches. That is the very premise of Rocky. So, hey, we got ourselves an Indian Rocky story. And hopefully the people of India will see it that way. Hopefully they'll market it to them in that way. Their great underdog champion come from nowhere and made himself look great and primed and ready. And he stole the title when the timing was right from the arrogant American people who really take everything they have for granted and don't really appreciate anything. And heck, when you see those audiences in England who get a show once in a blue moon, you can see how much Americans take their wrestling for granted. You really see how much people appreciate wrestling when they don't get to see it all the time and when it's a treat for them. They were watching the crappiest matches you could see, and they were still doing everything in their power to believe and to care and to have passion for it. And that's something that's really, I think, is missing in a lot of the American audiences right now. So why not cater to the Indian audience? And those fans deserve it, man. And I'm hoping that they'll do some showing of that tour in India, and we'll have a chance to see wrestling fans that really care and appreciate what they're given, unlike maybe the entitled American people sometimes. Anyways, not going to rant anymore. Not going to go on anymore. 13 minutes is already pushing more than I want to do with this video, but that's my thoughts on why Jinder Mahal belongs in the spot he's at. And I don't know. I'm not gonna poo-poo on it. I think it's a story you can either be inspired by, and I choose to be inspired by it because I think it's something to believe in. And yeah, I'm a little biased. I'm Canadian, secretly, even though they bill him from India, he's Canadian. He's Albertan. He's from the province I live in now, and he's one of the descendants of what we had with Stampede Wrestling in the Stu Hart and the Hart family days. And that's something that personally touches me as well. But regardless of that, I think there's a lot of value in the story, and that it once you get beyond the belief of it happened so fast, and maybe things shouldn't happen that fast, and there's no reason to necessarily believe in it, maybe you can actually see something inspirational in this story and something to get behind. And yes, it is different, and just because something's different doesn't mean it's good. But sometimes when something different comes on that you just don't expect and is done for the right reason, you get something that is really worth its weight in gold. And I'm hoping this is what this ends up being. So anyways, Aaron Rift, love you, man. I'm still your jobber. I do the job out for you anytime. But on this one, I got to disagree with you. I really think that WWE has made the decision for the right timing, the right person, and the right market at just the right time. And yes, it was a little fast. Yes, it was a little awkward, but I think it was the right decision. I don't think it was a bad decision. And they made the decision, and I think it was the way to go. So I think that if you just dare to get behind Jinder Mahal and give him a little bit of chance, maybe see a little bit of inspiration in his story, that it might end up being something really great. And I hope it ends up that way. And I hope that one of these days you're saying maybe it wasn't such a bad decision. Maybe it just seemed that way in the short term. Hey man, the WWE is stale. It can't get much more stale. I don't know. I think this could be really interesting. And having a champion that that wasn't grown right from the beginning to be a champion. You know, let's see where it goes. I'm not saying they can do it again, or that they do it often. It's a once in a blue moon thing, but who knows? This could be really interesting. So, anyways, you have a good day, Aaron. You take care. Keep making all the great videos. Keep an amazing site going the way you've been doing it. And I'll keep watching. Jobber out.